you for joining me for another Sunday Afternoons with Reverend Lucretia. I am so glad you're here. And so the name of today's talk is Go to the Quiet. And the song is I Will Make a Quiet Place by Michael Gott. If you would like to listen to the song before you listen to the talk, just go ahead. The link will be down in the description. So during these times of great confusion, fear, and unrest, we're going to talk about the power of silence to heal us. We'll talk about the art of being alone. We'll talk about waiting upon God. We'll talk about the goal of silence is clarity and communion with God. We will talk about scriptural references to silence. We will talk about a conductor's view, a symphony conductor's view about silence, 2 articles from the Hindu world about silence, as well as Evie Ingraham from Unity's take on silence. And we will have some information from the world of neuroscience about how silence can heal your brain. So, silence is the greatest medicine I have ever known. It has healed me and given me strength in times when nothing else could. I have valued and trusted it for over 30 decades to be the thing that brings me back to sanity. When you first listen to silence, you will notice it is not a total absence of sound. There's actually other sounds going on all the time, and we will talk about the need to listen to that. We will also talk about the fact that the more you are in silence, the more you have a sense of hearing that is heightened and the ability to listen more closely. So the song is I Will Make a Quiet Place by Michael Gott, and some of the lyrics are here. I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still and know. I will make a quiet place in my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. What I was most struck by is in all of the readings, in all of the studying that I did through all of the different traditions, Eastern and Western, all of them talked about the importance about going into the silence. During this time of unprecedented angst, silence may just be what grounds us all and keeps us centered in the faith that God is always with us. So, The Power of Silence, this is written by Neil Gittleman. So he is the conductor of the Dayton Philharmonic. He's been the artistic director and conductor for over 25 years. He's won multiple awards, not just for conducting, but for introducing people to new music that they've never been exposed to before. And so he says, we don't really like silence. We fill it with background noise, talk radio, TV, cat videos, and podcasts. We live in a world where our lives are too filled with noise, distractions, and he says, silence is nature's antidote to the craziness. So he went on a 5-day retreat. He went to the Abbey of the Lady of Gethsemane. We've talked about that before. That's the place where Thomas Merton made famous because of his work that he did there. And so he went for 5 days. 1848 is when that Abbey of Gethsemane was set up. He went for 5 days 3 years ago, and he says he wanted to focus on the silence. And his attention needed to go inward toward prayer and outward towards work. That's what they do there. So the monks there, they sing 7 times a day. And over the course of the month, they've gone through all 150 of the Psalms. So they eat in silence, they share their silence all day long. They are more powerful because of the silence. He said he met a friend there, I think it was a French horn player that he hadn't met in over a decade, and because they were at the retreat center, they weren't allowed to talk. After the retreat, they did go have a meeting and have some coffee, and he said the time that they spent together in the silence was actually more powerful than the time they spent when they were talking. So he talks about John Cage. So John Cage wrote, was a composer back in the 50s, and he wrote a title, 4 minutes and 32 seconds was the name of the song that he wrote. It was actually broke into 3 different parts, and the way that you could tell the 3 different parts was the piano opened and closed. So there were 3 different movements to this. And he wanted us to listen to the sounds of the world with the same attention and concentration that we listen to music. The sounds of the world around us join with the silence to focus our attention and our listening. He says, go inside yourself like monks, opening yourself to the music of the world around you. It will calm your soul and open your ability to perceive. When the silence does find you, he says, don't run away from it. So The Art of Being Alone, another article, also talks quite a bit about silence. It's written by Nicholas Ruad, Intentional Solitude, and he quotes Albert Einstein, who says, "I take time to go for long walks on the beach so that I can listen to what's going on inside my head. If my work isn't going well, I lie down in the middle of a workday and gaze at the ceiling while I listen and visualize what is going on inside my imagination." So in 2014, in an article in Science magazine, the participants were put alone in a room for 15 minutes, just 15 minutes, and they were left alone in there with an electric shocker. And what was fascinating was that over 80% of the participants shocked themselves at least once because they were so uncomfortable sitting in the silence. It was so hard for them to just be there and sit still that they had to do something to distract themselves. So they actually gave themselves electric shocks. Absolutely unbelievable. So Chris Bailey, the researcher, says putting our minds into daydreaming, wandering mode results in better problem solving. There is a calming of the nerves. We are more peaceful, genuinely joyful. We are more kind, and there is a sense of increased happiness. Nikola Tesla says increased creativity happens when we go into the silence. The mind is sharper and keener in seclusion and uninterrupted solitude. Originality thrives in seclusion, free of the outside influences beating upon us to cripple the creative mind. Be alone. That is the secret of invention. Be alone. That's where all ideas are born. So The Lost Art of Silence is an article written by Dr. Prema Pandurang in Hindu Lifestyle is the name of the website, How Being Silent is Powerful. So silence makes people uncomfortable. We've talked about that. It also makes them scared and it makes them angry. In Hinduism, it tells us that all our thoughts arise in silence, exist in silence, and resolve into silence. So Dr. Prema Pandurang was a teacher for 23 years at the English Chennai Presidency College. She's an international speaker. She goes to international inter-religious forums, so forums that talk about spirituality from all different faith-based programs, and she does quite a bit of talking. She decided to go on a 41-day vow she made to remain silent. For a long time, I had been a speaker. I woke up one day and said, let me see how it sounds and how it feels if I don't speak. Let me be in the silence and watch. So she wrote the book Reflections on Silence. She continues the silence even now, every single Tuesday. So all day long, every single Tuesday, she stays silent. So a Muni is a person who has developed the introspective mind. Hinduism concentrates this on a lot. That there are a lot of people who are able to stay in the silence, who use this practice to get themselves centered. But because of the social media in the new world, she says it's very hard to balance between the concepts of the new world and the social media and the ability to stay silent. There's a challenge about striking the balance between the two. She says it's important to take time every single day to be in the silence. So she wrote the book Look Within, and in there is a chapter called Sit Still. And in it she says, when the thought of God enters one's mind, it is still. Still like the deep waters of a large ocean. Our smiles spread all over our face, our hair stands on end, our eyes glisten, our skin glows, one can almost hear our heartbeat. When the mind is still, the body is energized. The mind is purified. The heart is stabilized, and the soul is satisfied. When we are not connected to Him, we are restless, tense, sad, and depressed. When we are still, we are connected. Rather, when we connected, we are still. This stillness helps us to grow to our better selves. It makes for clarity of thought and purity of mind, powerful state of the mind which has conquered prejudices, which has overcome ego, overpowered weaknesses, empowering itself with the breath of grace. It spreads, yet spreads only to God. It strives for nothing but to belong and merge with the supreme stillness called God. So in another article about the healing power of silence, written by B.K. Jayanti. Now, she's the director of Brahma Kumaris. Brahma Kumaris is a movement that was started in India in the 1930s. It practices a form of meditation that focuses on the identity as a soul rather than as a body. We says that we are all intrinsically good and that God is the source of all goodness. At this point, there are over 8,500 centers internationally of this religion called Brahmakumaris. So they say that in the silence, the body experiences comfort, the mind is set free, and the mind goes inside. The power of silence to heal the self. No matter where you are, there is noise outside, and then there is the noise inside. Just as with other forms of pollution, the noise pollution has gotten way out of control. When you cut down on the noise outside, that is when you start to hear the chatter inside. It's something that's very critical that we have forgotten, that the human soul is deep inside. That is where is the spark of light. Within every human soul, there is a very special creative power. We talk about that all the time, that we possess. The first creative act of every human being is the ability to create thought. So we talk about that in New Thought all the time. They say that they've estimated there are 36,000 thoughts a day that pass through our mind. We ourselves are in charge of this machine. We can determine the speed at which the machine moves, but also the direction that it takes. It is an independent choice we have, regardless of what the situation is that we are in. After the practice of going inside, you are starting to be master of your own thoughts, and you allow space between the thoughts. This allows you to tap into your own inner silence. The quiet space within myself, that is the space in which I am able to experience the silence and realize how much I need this. She says, most of us feel emptiness within or a neediness that comes up in our lives. What we are hungering for is that experience of inner silence, able to fill it and satisfy us and give us the inner strength and the ability to heal the self. The starting point of every healing is the power of silence. Just be with the thoughts. The power of silence, giving you little pauses, gives you the ability to change the direction of your thoughts. We heal by silence, in which I'm able to connect with the core of my own being. Connect with the divine, she says. Being silent enables me to feed myself, the soul, with spiritual knowledge that gives me the experience of peace, purity, wisdom, love, and lasting happiness. It gradually restores me in the confidence and dignity to live in the light of my original nature and allows ourselves to have hope in the self. So Swami Shraddhananda from the Vedanta Society of Southern California also talks about the healing power of silence. He wrote the book, Seeing God Everywhere, and the Story of an Epic. And this is a Hindu belief system. They say that the deep silence of the night seems to penetrate our being, our nerves are soothed, energy is regained, and the total effect is bracing to our bodies and our minds. It is necessary for every one of us, in the interest of our physical and mental health, to consciously avail ourselves of silence as much as we can, they say. More important than the outward silence is the inward silence. When we look into the mind, we ordinarily see only surface phenomena, thoughts, feelings, desires. We must make an additional effort to experience the inner silence, the silence of the mind. We must silence our inordinate desires and passions. If we come in touch with that inner realm of silence, our mental troubles can be healed. The steps to the highest truth are to be gained through the experiences of the different kinds of silence, beginning with the external silence and then moving to the internal silence. Silence becomes a progressively greater healing power in our lives until ultimately it reaches its culmination in the truth, which is our real self. So let's talk a little bit about neuroscience. I read about 12 different articles, and I'm not going to go into all of the details of all of the brain cells, but I've tried to sum it up into a little bit just so you understand that there really is a change in our body when we go into the silence. So neuroscience rewards what happens to the brain during silence and benefits of meditating and listening to nothing. This article was written by Aaron Fitzgerald. They talk about the fact that too much noise causes sleep deprivation, increased blood pressure, and heart disease. That research proves that the silence regenerates the brain cells. After 2 hours of silence, they could see changes in the gray matter. The hippocampus, which is responsible for memory, emotion, learning, developed into new brain cells. They could actually see new brain cells being produced during the times of silence. We saw that the silence is really helping the new generated cells to differentiate into neurons and integrate into the system. Silence relieves stress. Loud noises causes a release of cortisol, and cortisol is that energy inside your body that makes you feel like you're speeding. So noise causes increased heart rate, blood pressure, and disrupted sleep. The study says that was done in a neonatal ICU. Children who live near railroads, highways, airports show slower development in language and reading skills. Cognitive functions most improved by silence are memory, problem solving, and reading comprehension. Silence also improves our emotional well-being, our regulation, the ability to plan, and also organizational skills. Silence creates a decrease in the amygdala brain cell, and that's the brain cells that regulate your fear and anxiety, and that goes down. The fear and anxiety goes down. So let's talk a little bit about what Scripture says about silence. In Ecclesiastes 3:7, it says, "A time to tear and a time to sow, a time to be silent and a time to speak." Psalm 62:5 says, "My soul waits in silence for God only, for my hope is from him. He only is my rod and my salvation." Zephaniah 1:7 says, "Stand in the silence in the presence of the sovereign Lord, for the awesome day of the Lord's judgment is near." Psalm 37:7 says, "Be silent in the Lord's presence and wait patiently for him." The song also talks about waiting patiently for him. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." We will talk about that a little bit more later. Exodus 14:14 says, "The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent." All you have to do is be silent. I think that's wonderful. Isaiah 30:15 says, "For thus saith the Lord God, the Holy One of Israel, in returning and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and trust shall be your strength." So the metaphysical definition, let's look about that for the word silence. In the Revealing Word, it says, "A state of consciousness entered into for the purpose of putting man in touch with the divine mind, so that the soul may listen to that still small voice." When one goes into the silence, he enters the secret place of the Most High. You know, we talk always about that secret place that's inside you, the closet of prayer within. He closes the door, and in the stillness of that meeting place, he prays to God. He communes with God, and he meditates on truth. Then he listens to what God has to say. So when you go in that closet and you close the door, that's when you're able to listen to God. The silence is clearly taught in the Scriptures. So E.V. Ingraham is someone who worked at Unity all the way back in 1919. So he was a teacher, but he was also responsible for sending the Unity message out into the world. So he worked on a lot of the literature that was mailed out to teach people about Unity. And he says that the silence is clearly taught in the Scriptures, and it's one of the most vital aspects of prayer. He wrote a whole pamphlet on prayer. Be still and know is a clear command to let the mind rest from its activities and record knowledge that the higher wants to reveal. The fundamental purpose of the silence is to establish a means of conscious communion between God and man. On going into the silence, a person should remember that he is going into the presence of God. He should go into that presence in an expectant attitude, knowing that he is to receive, and therefore he should be in a receptive mode. It has to be that you create an empty vessel that is able to receive in full measure. Complete devotion to the singular purpose. There is but one presence and one power in the universe, the presence and power of God, the good, the omnipotent. Before you enter the silence, take into account the fact that you are approaching the presence of divinity, entering the presence of all the power, wisdom, majesty, love, and healing radiance that you ever attributed to Jesus or to the God of the universe. When a person's interest in God lifts him above the activities of his own personal thought to the borderland of the infinite, he has truly found the silence. Relax. So he has a whole chapter about relaxing, and he says a lot of people are able to get into the silence, but they can't stay there, either because they are emotionally too stressed out and anxious, or because they can't get their body to relax. So he has a whole chapter on how to relax and breathe and listen to your breath so that you can be calm enough to receive all of that. And he says, use words like, into the care and keeping of God I give myself. All my ideas, all the affairs of my life, and all the people in whom I am concerned or who are concerned with me. When you enter into the silence in the fullest sense of the word, you are literally approaching the kingdom of heaven that the scripture teaches is within you. I just thought that was wonderful. So my experience with silence, it's probably the most important healing agent in my life. So I'm an introvert. After being in the world for a long time and being in communication with other people, I find that I actually have to go home and be quiet. It's necessary for me to get back to center. I have to go to a place where there's no more noise, no more talking, or no more outside stimuli in order for me to get connected to God again. I need to go inside. So I used to be in sales, and I would do these huge conventions where there were hundreds of people coming to my booth, and what I found was that after a couple of hours I had to step away. Even if I only stepped away for 15 minutes, I had to be able to go somewhere where I could just be quiet and I could just commune with God and I could just get myself centered again. So I had jobs in the corporate world, and I found that a lot of people during their lunch hour would run out and see their friends or hang out with their friends in the office, and I wasn't like that at all. I needed to be alone. I was someone who would actually just go to my car and sit alone in my car because I needed to have the silence. I needed to get away. Sitting in the silence is the best part of my day, so I set a timer, and often when the timer goes off after the hour, I'm really upset that I have to get back into the world because it feels so peaceful and relaxing and restful and safe to just be sitting there in the silence. Every single talk title, theme, song, idea, inspiration, all of that comes from the silence. I write a lot, so I go through about 2 to 3 journals a month, and all of that comes from the silence. So I've gone on silent retreats for over 30 years. I used to do them up in New York in the monasteries up on the Hudson. There's miles and miles of monasteries up there, and I would stay there, and it was always, the place matters. It was always incredibly beautiful, and so some of the silence time I'd be outside, some of the silence time I'd be in one of the chapels. They had sessions, like workshops, but I would sneak out of the sessions so that I could go be alone. I really liked being alone. So I would also go to retreat centers to be alone. I went to St. John the Divine when I was growing up. St. John the Divine was an incredibly holy, sacred, quiet place where you could hear footsteps echoing from all the way in the back of the church. As often as possible, I would go to the ocean. Probably 98% of that time I would go alone to just sit and listen to the sounds of the ocean and the world around me and not talk to anyone. So after my mother passed, I went away on a retreat for 7 days. I ate alone, I sat alone, I went to the chapel, I walked around the grounds, I did all of it alone. I met with a priest for about 20 minutes every day just to get myself connected to another human being and to talk to him about what was going through my mind. And it was at that retreat that I decided to go back to school to get my degree in pastoral ministry and to go ahead and get ordained. So all of that came from this week of being in the silence. So I've had important, lasting relationships, and what I found was the ones that were really meaningful to me were the ones where I could be alone with the other person in the silence. So sometimes the other person would be cooking. One of my favorite partners had the ability to cook really, really well, and so he'd be in the kitchen cooking, and I would be either reading or writing or just sitting. And then sometimes after we ate, we would just sit in the silence together, and that ability to sit with someone in the silence turned out to be one of the greatest gifts that I have. So I was just with a new widow last week, and she reminded me of how people were coming and just chattering at her all of the time, and how what she wanted was for them to be able to just sit still with her and let her be alone in the silence. Most of my life I talked too much, and I understand now that that was because I had to learn how to be really comfortable about sitting in the silence with other people, but I believe now that's one of the greatest gifts that you can give. Learning how to be silent with another is part of how you learn how to be silent in the world, that you can share that when you're in the presence of another human being. create a quiet space, like it says in the song. So I am very, very grateful that I have a quiet place that I can go to and where I can be alone. The quiet part about waiting on God, I'm not so sure I'm always waiting on God. It feels to me like God is with me all the time. It's just that I need to shut down all of the outside noises, but it took decades of time to learn all that. So while I was preparing for this, that John Cage musical that was called 4 minutes 32 seconds came up on 3 different occasions with 3 different people. So it was written as a reaction to Muzak. It was written in the 1950s. Muzak had just come into the world, so they were piping music into the elevators and the shopping centers and the malls and the stores, and he was really afraid that people would learn how to listen all the time to all these noises, and they would never learn how to sit in the silent. So when this was it was introduced to the world, it was in an outside venue. I believe it was in the Berkshires. It was in a concert hall that was open air. And so what he wanted was for people to learn to listen to the sound. So they were listening to the birds, they were listening to the cicadas, they were listening to the night owls, they were listening to all the night sounds. And what we learn is that there never actually is 100% quiet. It's the sounds in the background that remind us of what life is like in this world. So we are all busy, we are running around, we are taking care of business. Some of us are hurting very much emotionally. As a nation, the fear and anxiety is at a higher level than it has ever been. Let's see if we can have silence be the healer that it is capable of being. Let's take time to create a silent space in your heart, in your mind, and in your life. Remember, at all times, the power is in you. It always has been, and it always will be. Thank you so very much. I hope this was helpful. I send you on your way with many blessings.